Michael. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hi, Elon
Hello. Hi.
and Gisela. Welcome in.
Yeah, great to have all of you here. Um, so what I'd love, I think we'll just, be a handful of folks today. And if y'all could drop into chat or share via voice, where you're joining from and what you would like to get out of this time. That would be great. Um, hello, I'm Erica Anderson. I'm here with Louise Maniago, and we're excited to really help all of us see the community that is quite wide. There's a lot of breadth and depth that I think is hard to see otherwise. And I'm joining from California in the Bay Area in the US. Um, and and yeah, I'll just see what y'all are dropping into chat. Okay. Thank you, Michael. Um, Great. So in terms of, so thank you for representing Colorado. Hello, Julia. Welcome. Um, and so I think meeting others who care about humane tech, I feel like that is in the process of happening. And and maybe even before I kind of jump in with slides and so forth, for those of you who are comfortable or in a spot to go on video, if you're not on video, just making that invitation. Um, but would love just to hear, a few sentences from for each person of, why are you here and why is this important to you? Um, Michael, would you be willing to kick that off?
I'm sure. Yeah. And I'll try and be brief because there's plenty I could say about that. But I'm basically I got into technology design via psychology, and my interest in psychology, the reason I started a PhD in that a long time ago, was about open-mindedness and our ability to sort of interact with each other about things we have different beliefs about, and the degree to which our attachment to beliefs, perhaps based on our emotional needs, gets in the way of that. So I was originally aiming to explore that in an academic research setting. But by the time I finished my PhD, I got really interested in technology design, and anyway, basically got into UX, what's now called UX. But for a long time, I've been wanting to go beyond just concerns about ease of use and positive user experience, and focus really on technology being as psychologically and socially helpful as possible and as not harmful as possible.
Mhm.
And it's now become such a recognized thing that I'm really excited to participate in ways of focusing on that.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, minimizing harm so we can do good. Um, I, let's see, Julia, would you be up for just sharing why humane tech matters to you?
Sure. My, Part of my journey maps along Michael's. I was also fascinated with the human brain and how it understands information, particularly in the political sphere, and did a PhD on social media and and uh, political psychology. So yeah, a lot of the same experiences and insights that Michael had. And that journey landed me to an organization called Pro Social Design Network,
Mm.
where, I think we have a very similar mission to what you guys are up to. So I think Louise, somebody posted about All Tech is Human. I was like, oh, I didn't know about you guys. So I was
Mm.
really excited and just, I think, missed an earlier call. And so hopped on this one just to learn more what y'all are up to.
Mm. Great. Okay. Yes, we can cover that. Thank you, Julia. Thanks for being here. Um, let's see. Elon, I know you shared over chat. Hugo, do you want to share why humane tech matters to you? And I I guess I might, I think what I'll do, also invitation to you, Gisela. Um, and so just know you can jump in at any point. So you're not getting called on in class, but there is an invitation. So maybe, I think, Julia, to your point, um, I I will I'll start with a little bit just introing myself, and then I'll jump out to it's like what is building humane tech? What have we been up to? And then in terms of how we spend our time, we actually have a kind of mapping activity here. Just like, okay, everyone who signed up for this, where are we in the world in general? And then what orgs are we connected to? What are we finding really valuable? And I think just this really like moving into the driver's seat here. And so that's where I see the meat of this being. Because we also have some resources that we'll share. And I think, Louise, if you could drop this in chat. So just very basic Google agenda here with some resources. But we've been adding to the list, the humane tech list from All Tech is Human and updating it. So it's great to have these, and they get out of date pretty much immediately. So Louise has been doing work to update this and then add to it as well any orgs that we found missing. And this is anyone can edit this. So just to point out a few different resources that we'll use during our time together today. But I think to go back to um, what are we doing? I'll just start with myself. So, extremely brief biological history here. I was born on a hippie commune called the Farm in Tennessee. So it's probably best known for Ina May Gaskin, who's like the grandmother of modern midwifery. So if you've ever dealt with a midwife, probably there's some link back to Ina May. But so that's me. I'm the baby. And when the founder of the commune died, there were a lot of, laudatory obituaries, and my family had a different experience. We left when I was very young, so I wrote about that for Vanity Fair because this group here, so this is the founder, and this is in San Francisco. So this is in Golden Gate Park. And folks, as you can see, looked up to him quite literally. And as they were having their mind expanding experiences and trying to understand that. And they decided to create this commune called the Farm. And there was a lot around truth telling, but there was power, baked into that in ways that I don't think everyone was acknowledging. And so I got really interested as an adult in different kinds of communication practices. And nonviolent communication, different communities. And I started building all of those under an umbrella framework that I call clean communication of, okay, how do you go on the ladder from the head to the heart of like where work gets done, but like also what's driving a lot of behavior and how can we have safe ways to get there? Safe might be an overused term, but like, how do I know how to get there without like exploding? What's a way that's productive to have those conversations? So, right, with all that, why would I start an AI company in 22? So I'll mention that and let's bring us back around to building humane tech. Um, so you're getting the long version, but in spring of 22, I saw the wave of generative AI hitting. And And I thought, okay, how do we do this right? Like, how do we build this with integrity? And, how can we live at this intersection here of humanity and technology? And yes, I know there's two Y's and I love it. But, and, and I think like part of the driver, I mean, with that, um, there's also just you're building a business when you start a startup or any kind of business. And so I've just been deep in that like existential process of co-running the show. And I took Center for Humane Technologies Foundations course and thought, okay, I'm in the Bay Area. There must be hundreds of groups implementing the frameworks and like asking the questions that were in this course. And it's totally possible that there are. I just never found any of them. So maybe they're operating by names that I haven't thought of searching for, or it's just not public in any way. It's I do think like the whole purpose of this time together is there's so many people working this space and it's quite fragmented, which is okay in that everything needs to have expertise and niche, but then nobody really it's hard for everyone to know about each other. Um, and I'll only spend like a minute here, but um, what I think as funny as these ads are, of like 1940s, like, oh, all these actors posing as doctors, like camels are the best cigarette for your health. I actually think we are in this ad in a way in today's era, but just for aspects of technology that don't have guardrails, right? That like hopefully guardrails, there will be more guardrails. And we'll look back at this time like, oh my goodness, isn't that crazy? You could be any age on the internet. Anyone could find anything at any time, whether that was damaging or appropriate, for their age. Um, and so like this happens throughout time. There's, as I looked at that, I'm like, oh, okay, we used to advertise radioactive water. Interesting. But I'll detour into building humane tech and what we've been up to here, which is that whole like create the thing you want to see. So since for almost a year, so since last summer, I've been hosting events in person and then as of this year online as well, to take frameworks and apply them. So I just very much I've had 9 professional lives, but like one of them is as a classroom teacher, and so experiential learning to me is how it happens. And so we've been applying prototypes to big tech, seeing how all that works. And I've come up with an MVP of promises, like when you interact with a product that is humane, any kind of tech that's humane, you'll feel cared for, present, fulfilled, and connected. And I been putting together some trainings, but largely, and the big thing here, the big reveal is actually this. So and this is new for those of you who have been on other workshops like Michael and Hugo. So I just created an open source repo as of last Friday. The whole idea is that, we just have folks contributing to this. I'm adding things that are not some that's my IP and some that's not. And just everyone gets, credited for their work. So like this externalities framework, how to minimize harm. Um, that's from Center for Humane Technology. Thought leaders, what are some questions to ask when you start, when you're in the concepting phase, when you're like, oh, okay, I think this is what I want to build. And so a future I would love to see is, running this open source project. I'm still chief customer officer for my startup, but this is my big passion project, and honestly the thing I care most about is just all of us having access to frameworks, so it's not just like expertise kind of scattered around the world, but that we all know where to go to find it. So that's some of the latest developments here. Um, and this is hard because like I want to set up the context and setting up the context and having some time for us to actually do something. It's hard to make all of that happen. So I'm going to share one other piece of context, but then we are going to stay together as opposed to go into breakout rooms. So if any of you are interested in contributing or think of someone who would be great to contribute to this open source framework, like please send them my way. We've got a form for that, or just let us know. And we can talk, we can make that happen. Um, the other thing to share here is so this year I've been asking anyone who signs up for a workshop or who is an All Tech is Human mentor or mentee, because I'm on both of those lists for 2025. I've reached out to everyone, say, hey, I want to learn more about why you're interested in this, right? Like just like how we started this call. And I've talked to as of last week, over 100 people who are, I would say, humane technologists or aspiring humane technologists who are very much in the space. They could all be on this workshop with us. And these are the kinds of things that I hear. So the quotes I'm sharing are very much high level patterns. So, we're not incentivized whatsoever to do any kind of humane tech beyond have a good UX, right? From a software engineer. Um, and this from someone who worked at Meta, I did everything I could and still I couldn't sleep at night, like really, really trying to make a difference at one of the FANG companies. Um, I hear some version of this quite a lot. If you're going to do tech, there's a level of compromise in terms of values, morality, or humanity. So, how can I use my skills and not compromise my values? And yeah, sometimes we feel like we're a voice in the wilderness. I hear this so much. We're just an island. And I guess one of my goals for this time is that we see we are a massive archipelago. We are not islands. Or if we are islands, we're part of an archipelago. There we go. Um, so with that, just I guess want to open it up for any reactions or observations that resonates for me, that doesn't resonate for me, etc. I don't want to just be like monologuing. So yeah, would love to hear any
Thank you,
reactions.
everyone. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let me know if you can hear me. Uh,
It's a little choppy for
more
me.
like- okay, so maybe I will use websites so you can know more, and because my connection is really bad, so I don't want to lose
I think
much
this is
time.
Hugo, yeah?
Yeah,
What
yeah,
I
exactly.
Okay. Hugo, how about you drop it in chat just because the audio is coming in and out, and I want to make sure we know what you're sharing. Okay, thank you. I look forward to seeing that in chat. So in terms of where we go from here, and we can all talk at any time. We're just a handful of folks here. And is one just like, hey, there's also in terms of the calls I've been having, it's, folks in Nigeria and Macedonia, majority in the US, just like this map here. But people in London, etc. So in Colombia. So for sure it is folks all over who are really interested in this. And I think part of humane tech is like feeling embodied, like how do I locate myself? So I just wanted to locate us here. And so what we've done, and I'll give, has anyone here besides me and Louise used Excalidraw before? You can think of it as similar to Miro, but engineers like it because you can build it, it can go right from design to code. But this is our invitation. Then you take your name, which everyone's name, you just kind of move it like that. And and connect yourself, like write in. So you've got text, right? And then you can start writing, an org, but that we are doing this mapping together. So this is an experiment. Maybe it's a great use of our time, hopefully. But I, because on the one hand, we have this, which if you're like, huh, I'm not really able to think of any orgs. I mean, I would start with like, what do you use? What is valuable to you? What do you wish other people knew more about? Um, and just dropping that in here. And then it's not quite the like 6 degrees from Kevin Bacon exercise, but just like what are we all connected to? You know, Michael, what are you interacting with that like I should probably check out? And so any questions about how to do that? So you'd be grabbing your name and then typing in any orgs, and then this is the arrow tool. So if Louise were connected to something else, then we'd have that over here. Like for instance, I'm applying to be in women in AI ethics. But just starting again with like, hey, each of us has a lot of, domain expertise. We have that to kind of surface, to bring to the forefront. Um, and how can we actually just create a map right now? And like happy to share or talk through, what is valuable, from this. And I realize there's a little bit of new tool exploration or learning here. So appreciate you going on that ride with us.
How do you reset the zoom to just to show sort of fit everything in your browser window? I'm just seeing the left side of the map at the moment, and
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I'll just try resharing. Let me see if that helps. But I think, does that help you, Michael?
it says to move canvas, hold mouse wheel or spacebar while dragging, or use the hand tool. I think I just need to change to the hand tool. There we go.
Yeah.
Because I was before when I was on the arrow tool and I kept on grabbing it and it was moving the map from behind the text.
Got it. Okay.
Just needed the hand tool.
Right. Okay. Yeah, moving to this. Great. Okay. Hmm. Great. Thank you, Hugo.
So,
Yeah,
Eric, I know a lot of orgs in this space. Should I just dump them in?
sure. Yeah, let's dump them in. And whoopsie, as you do that, I'm also here. I'm going to go
Yeah,
back
I'm
to,
sure. I'm sure many of them. I'm sure. I think they're all in the All Tech is Human.
yeah.
Um, and I'm sure there are many in yours as well. But I'll just add the ones that I'm most closely connected to.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's almost like if Facebook did a connections web with organizations for humane tech. That's yeah, that's my idea here. We'll do work to continue to update the humane tech or all tech is human, sorry, kicked off. So we've already added a bunch of orgs to that and checked for, are things up to date or not? Um, but I I think even understanding like maybe it's first we dump them in and then like, okay, how are we interacting with these groups? Because to me, it's quite valuable for us to just learn from each other as opposed to just, clicking on links. I think there's more here. And oh, I'm misremembering one. Mm. Mm. Well, and I'm just starting to add some links because, for instance, I'm learning about the pro-social design network. So that's really cool. Of, I mean, that's amazing
Yeah,
frameworks
yeah.
right there.
I'm also excited. We have a similar, well, kind of a brief Airtable with resources, and I'm definitely going to bring in two, two of your pages from your GitHub repo are going to go in here as well. The ones of oh, I love your principles, and then also a lot on your design patterns are great. And so
Awesome.
there's definitely lots of parallels.
Right. Or yeah, I see that here. And those design patterns, those are from Center for Humane Technology, but I've used them a number of times and not, I would say not all the way to like then do user testing from the result, but just for prototyping. And it's brought a lot of awareness and creativity.
There's also Integrity Institute has a great one that they developed focused on features, which you may be familiar with this too. They're and they come much more from the reducing harm, unless creating those flourishing spaces. But it also, you might find it really interesting as well.
Yeah.
Here, I'll drop it in here.
Okay, great. Oh, this is awesome. Amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
It's because of you, Julia, we're finding out about all these other things, I think. Okay.
Well, that's why I came here too, because I love these mapping exercises. I think it's really good to like know what's out there, who's doing what, where the resources exist. So that's why I was drawn here.
Yeah, amazing. Oh, yeah, I'm checking out the focus on features. Now, product managers and lawmakers. Oh, this is amazing. Love it. Okay. I just like you'll be taking from the repo, I will be adding to the repo. So that's fantastic. Um, awesome. Great. Cool. Louise, are you adding links too? Yeah. Thank you for doing that. We have a live map. I'll look for the council. That's interesting. Oh, you know what? I think it's funny that whole like you build the thing that you need and then you find out lots of other people are building it too, which is great. And to me, the like unmet need is hope. Hope and also ways to build better, right? It can't just be hope on its own. And so just learning about these different groups, I feel more hope. Um, which is exciting. It's like the secret club is not so secret anymore. And that's good. Hmm.
Yeah, there are definitely lots of allies.
Yeah.
I added in even a lot of the trust and safety community is also a great ally. They're in industry, but well, actually, I shouldn't say but they're They're really the advocates, oftentimes the advocates within industry for creating more humane technology.
Mm, incredible. Yeah, I like just seeing all of these. It's like the world goes from black and white to in color of like, oh, there's that too. There's that too. And of course there's hundreds more, but um I don't know, there's something around just like the personal vetting or just the communication, the conversation around it. Um, I'd love to learn, Julia, what is your interaction with each of these groups? So you're part of the Pro-Social Design Network.
Yeah, so we are a almost entirely volunteer run
Mm.
organization. I'm the titular managing director.
Oh, you
Uh,
are.
but I'm not, compensated a terrible amount or any for it right now. So it is also a labor of love. And yeah, I listed kind of our main, well, we are a member of the Council on Technology and Social Cohesion.
Mm,
And this is actually a group that was inspired. I should connect them to the Center for Humane Technology because they were inspired and worked early on with Tristan. And they aim to bring together a lot of people who are working in peace building and social cohesion with technologists so they can
mm,
infuse more technology with the ethos of peace builders and peacemakers. So we're a member of that council.
okay.
And then I listed the others. We don't have like a formal relationship with Integrity Institute, New Public, or Trust and Safety Foundation, or Trust and Safety Foundation. They're just the folks that we just happen to interact with a lot
Mm.
because we find that there's a lot of alignment. Um, and yeah.
That's really valuable. I'd love to learn if you're okay to just share. I think it's the pretty much the four of us and our bots, right? Hugo, Michael, Louise, you and I. But how you interact with, the other orgs that you're not a part of, like with Integrity Institute, for instance.
So um, it's kind of a funny world where I think just like a lot of us, um, a lot of people in our space are actually so Integrity Institute, you might know, is made up of folks who are current or past integrity workers, so trust and safety folks and other folks working in industry to make them safer, healthier spaces. So I think they have a membership. I'm not a member because I've never worked in industry. But a lot of those, a number of those folks are also members of Pro-Social Design Network. We have a Slack, and I say we don't have a very formal membership. It's just join our Slack and hang out. Is that kind of how it works?
Mm.
And Trust and Safety Foundation also no, they're just one colleague we work with there, talk to a lot there, Amanda Minking, and then also other people who have volunteered to. They have so they create resources, and so we just kind of interact with folks. Um, and then New Public, again, no formal relationship. But some of their members are on our Slack, and we often amplify the work that they're doing and just share notes. So they're just mostly informal relationships. We just know those people. We try to actually New Public, in one degree, our connection is so on Pro Social Design Network, as you see, we have a resource of evidence-based pro-social design. So
Mm.
different features that have like a healthy impact on in online spaces. And part of the way we structure those resources is using the civic signals from New Public. So New Public, you may know that they did this. It was founded by Talia Stroud and Eli Pariser, And they started from a space of first saying, well, what should an online space look like? And so they talked to researchers, thinkers, and they came up with these 14 signals. Like when someone come to it, and they think most about the civic spaces. So anyway, they have these 14 signals around making people feel welcome. We have being able to connect, etc. And so we organize our library by their signals. So
Oh,
that's just kind of an example. And that was a connection made early on by Ravi Iyer, who is at this Neely Center, who's also a chair of the Council on Technology and Social Cohesion. He's somebody who really has the idea, like there are all these organizations who should be working together. So he was the first one who said, Pro Social Design Network, you need to talk to New Public and get aligned. So he is somebody who really feels like
oh, that's
we all
great.
should be working together.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. That's so important. And yeah, thank you, Michael, also for adding around open source. I was only learned about Internet Society recently, but free and fair internet. They
Oh, yeah.
gave a talk at a recent event they had here in the Bay. But like IEEE, like that's, an organization for engineers, but around building technology that benefits humanity. So there's so many of these, I think, both that are very active in the present day, that are brand new in the last few years, and that have been around for decades too. But something I wonder, sharing all of this, like I with this connecting community to community, actors with actors in this space, what do y'all feel like would be the next most helpful steps there? Like, is it an in-person unconference? Is it a online call? Like, what are those mergings where it's not like folks are fighting for attention, but it's more what you just spoke to, Julie, of like, oh, these two orgs should be working together, or that kind of meta view of who can be helping each other in constructive ways. Curious to hear y'all's viewpoints on this. Also enjoying the shapes that we created here.
I just put in a vote for, if it's an in-person thing, that it includes a remote
Right.
ability to participate remotely, just because a lot of people, including me, would not be able to attend the in-person thing probably.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think in person is probably some small group that, and maybe that happens already, I have no idea. Um, but yeah, not feasible for the honestly like global community that is behind this. Yeah. Okay. What would be valuable for that time, or what would your vision be for how that time would get used, that folks from all these different communities come together?
Well, I mean, my particular focus and interest is on, like, as you and I have talked about a little bit, is on the incentives piece, and the question of how could we have really well-funded technology and software that the incentives behind it are truly aligned with users' sort of long-term best interests, as opposed to their short-term sort of addictive vulnerabilities and things.
Yeah.
So generally, the question of sort of business models or types of organizations. I mean, I've been, since we talked about that, I've been inspired to work more on a project that I'm
Mm.
work on related to that. But I'm also have thoughts about a more general related idea. And I heard a podcast interview recently with a guy there's an interview with him in the New York Times. Now I think he's written a book called Moral Ambition.
Oh yeah, I just read that book. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah, I haven't read the book yet, but basically the point is that in terms of our attitudes about money and profit and stuff, that our society and our just kind of a range of available memes in a way is very split between the sort of profit seeking, the sort of excitement of profit seeking, sort of typified by Silicon Valley for-profit companies and things, and sort of non-profit attitudes that can be sort of see profit as kind of evil and corrupting and generally. So I'm thinking of it as a kind of like there's the kind of as much as possible mentality that sort of, or it's kind of a spectrum. Like at one end of the spectrum you have the kind of get as rich as possible by whatever means you can get away with. Ethics, laws, and everything are just an impediment to try and work
Right.
around. And at the other end you have be as completely selfless as possible. If anybody in the world is worse off than you, feel guilty about it and try to live as, as ascetically as possible, sort of typified by like a bumper sticker I've seen, a phrase that's live simply that others may simply live, which
sure.
kind of includes the kind of assumption that the main thing preventing other people from even surviving is one's own sort of hoarding or demanding an unfair advantage. And so I just feel like in the sort of the range of available ways of funding technology that exist right now, I mean, you have traditional for-profit corporations, you have non-profit organizations, and now you have like B Corps and things like that. So you do have the concept of triple bottom line and things, but in general, I feel like we're caught between these two different attitudes, and we need something in the middle in a way that really balances, like respect that the sort of excitement of earning money by being successful, doing something successfully that a lot of people really like, or a lot of people value and are willing to pay for. That really has a good aspect that isn't just about greed and wanting to become a multi-billionaire. But at the same time, doing things like having actually benefiting people for real be the most important thing.
Completely.
Is essential. And so what I'm trying to think about is a way of really kind of creating a new option for a way of thinking about and relating to money that is neither this kind of like I'm a do-gooder who lives on as little money as possible, or I'm a successful business tycoon who's has as many billions and as many private islands as possible. So to me, that's kind of that underlies all of this. Like how do we get it so that and some of the quotes you shared at the beginning from people you've talked to were so much on that, like we have no incentive, we're not incentivized to do anything beyond like good user experience and usability. And often the good user experience is really like to make it addictive. like make people be like, I can't live without this. I've got to be using this all day. So anyway, that's what I'm particularly interested in. That sort of, it's a bit of a meta question of like, how do we, or if actually if you that exactly this thing, so that business model and economic goal and culture and paradigm, I think there's a real opportunity there to to question the status quo and to create new ways of thinking about those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think the fact that there's so many orgs, a few of which we're naming here today, like is pointing to the culture and paradigm shift is happening somewhere. It's just not spread across
Yeah,
the culture yet. But and I know, Michael, you've seen this before, and Julia, I'm just popping this up one, because Michael, you were basically speaking to it, but this is in the open source repo as well, and it's from Center for Humane Technology from Donella Meadows. So we just played with the design of it a bit of, what's closest to the fulcrum, easiest to change, easiest to, play with the parts. And yet, like you're saying, Michael, like, oh, great design. Okay, now it's more addictive. And so how can those design changes actually respect user autonomy? But I highly recommend. I thought Moral Ambitions was a really inspiring, fast read. But my background is as a writer, which means reading a lot of books all the time. So it doesn't mean that I have the right objective opinion about any particular book, but that's it stood out as a top read of this, the noble loser who, yeah, lives on air and has no needs and that affects no change. And versus how do we just use the skills that we have to make things better in the best way that we can? Like, where can we make the most impact and do that? And so I feel like also in what you're sharing, Michael, around that is like, okay, yeah, how does that come together with some community connection where then we can all go out and make more of an impact. And just speaking, um, right. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Hugo. Right. So again, this is what I keep seeing in Julia, Michael, Hugo, and I, and some other people were doing red teaming companion bots according to those promises of humane tech and like scoring them. And I just see the business model like getting in the way basically over and over. It's running the show. And so like when will a companion bot ever tell you to take a break? It's just it it goes completely against this right now. But one thing that I think Louise dropped in chat, and I'll just pop up here, is we have an opt-in sheet here of again, it's a building humane tech is a fledgling community, and we're doing this without any kind of serious people just opt in to this. So if it would be meaningful to you to drop something in, drop in your contact information, and then like what is the thing that you could offer and what's the thing that you want, like yeah, I mean, Michael, you referenced the I if we, essentially how I would describe is like crowdsource support for any kind of project or product. um and like I'm very excited for. I know you've got the prototype for that, but for that to live in the world, like how can we go and support efforts, outside of GoFundMe's and other kinds of sites. So just wanted to,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I'm basically working on getting that to just a sort of an MVP part where I can actually, when I tell people about it, that they can actually go and pledge on it if they want to. And I'm pretty close.
Great. That's awesome.
And then once I've got that, I'm going to shift my focus to like maybe putting together a slide deck and video I could stick on YouTube or something, just saying why I think why it's needed. And but anyway, yeah, definitely I think there are potential things we could do to shift that other end of that, the points of leverage.
Yeah, right. Right, exactly. Like, how do we have agency? How do we have leverage and see that leverage? So, since we are in our final minutes here, um, something I tend to do. One thing I realized that I didn't bring up, but I feel like is missing. I mean, it wasn't what All Tech is Human was trying to do, so it's not there. But as far as I know from looking at the sheet at this point, the spreadsheet that we've been adding to here. But it's just where are the for-profit companies that are trying to build with humane tech? I think that's something we'll do a go on, but I didn't want to make our work together be like, let's update a spreadsheet. That's just not a good use of our time. But like one, if there are companies or product are like, oh, that actually, I think that's a pretty humane product. I'd say go ahead and drop that in this map. But in terms of these final minutes, tend to ask, what's a liked, learned, or longed for? So did you learn anything during this? If so, what was that? However briefly, was something that worked for you? And what's something like, oh, if this had really, like, for instance, I think that was a longed for from myself. I forgot to mention, oh, what about products and for-profit companies? Like, where do you see people actually implementing this? Where is it going well? Because that's part of paradigm shift. And so that's a longed for from myself to have remembered to mention that and to map that here. But whether in chat or via voice, yeah, would love to know from you, Julia, a liked, learned, or longed for, or you can go the whole gamut.
Yeah, I'm just happy to find you guys and to see the work and the thought that you've put in. And so yeah, it's great to connect and also to hear your thoughts, Michael. Um, yeah, I don't know, I don't know if I have anything else to add. I think it's but just maybe to echo what you said earlier, Erica, it's always just great to see that there are so many people in this space and gives us hope that there is a movement growing.
Yeah, completely.
I have to drop off to a staff meeting in 1 minute, so if I disappear, try to forgive me.
Thank you so much for joining us, Julia. Really nice to meet you.
Right,
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Bye. Michael, what
Yeah,
about
I mean, I liked learning about other things that I didn't know about before and would like to learn more about, like pro-social design network, for example. And I guess what I long for actually which isn't really something for the meeting to provide, but I personally I would love to have a better system than I do for somehow taking things like all the things that I learned from this call and having them in a so I feel like they sort of come and go, like I'm excited to hear about them at the time, but whether I get back to them or not, who knows? And at least to have them recorded somewhere.
right?
There's an open source app called LogSeek that
Mm,
I use for that kind of thing, and I know that there's ways I could use it much more effectively. But so that's it's like there's sort of an embarrassment of riches kind of thing of like, wow, this is tons of useful stuff to learn about, but at the moment I feel like it's sort of just washing over me and like
completely.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's such a good point. I feel like it's the Uber kind of problem of every workshop or experience of how do I take this and integrate it? How do I live this somewhere?
Yeah, and actually this is the kind of thing maybe something sort of like Storytel AI could really help with, of like an AI personal assistant that can in future just suggest things to you, like basically kind of say, you remember that time, you remember that
Oh,
meeting, um be kind of like a technologically enhanced
right.
human memory. But
Yeah, completely. No, I love that. I think, right, because it has to, that whole like be where they are, like we need it as long as we're inviting it in to have this AI assistant. Yeah, like as we are, I think, paradigm shifting, how do we get reminded of where we're headed as opposed to where we've been? But yeah, bringing these experiences with us so it's not just ephemera. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. I want to solve that too. And I'm sure there's things I can do around that, and I don't know what they are yet. Um, I'll just see if Hugo, yeah, running research with chatbot. Yes, I'm curious about that too, Hugo. Are you dropping that in? So that's one, I don't know if it would work or not. Just to share, I don't know if y'all saw, but on our I'm looking to kind of move our like monthly emails of events and updates into more of a newsletter format with give and gets format. So Hugo, Louise and I could put that in our next email, our update that goes out in June, of looking for folks doing research with companion bots. Would that be interesting to you? Yeah, okay, great. And unless if you object, we can just put your email address there as someone to contact for it. So, um, yeah, thank you both. Okay, great. It's on. We will do that. Um, so Michael and Hugo, I feel like y'all are in the trenches. We're in the trenches together. So really appreciate your time. And Michael, I'm so excited to hear that you've been making progress on IFW because
Yeah,
it's
I'll check in. I'll check back in with you about it sometime relatively soon.
yeah, please do. Okay, echoing what you're saying, Hugo. Beautiful day to everyone. Thank you. Thanks so much. Okay. Bye,
Thanks.
all. Great to see
Bye.
you. All right. Thank you, Louise. Bye.